In the blistering heat of the Arizona desert, where the sun scorched the earth like an unrelenting forge, a lone cowboy named Harlan rode his weary horse through a canyon shadowed by jagged red rocks. Dust swirled around his boots as he spotted the wreckage, a stagecoach overturned, its wheels splintered like broken promises. Amid the chaos, a woman lay pinned beneath a fallen beam, her dress torn and her face streaked with blood and tears. Bandits had struck, their laughter echoing like coyotes in the night, leaving her for dead after robbing her of everything but her life. Harlan dismounted swiftly, his calloused hands lifting the beam with a grunt that betrayed his own exhaustion. "Hold on, ma'am," he muttered through gritted teeth, his voice rough as gravel. In that moment, as he pulled her free and bandaged her wounds with strips from his own shirt, he didn't know he was rescuing more than a stranger, he was igniting a spark of humanity in a world gone cold. Eliza Thorne was no ordinary traveler. A widow from Boston, she had ventured west seeking a fresh start after her husband's untimely death in a factory accident back east. The journey had been her desperate bid for hope, carrying the last of her savings in a hidden pouch, now stolen by those ruthless outlaws. As Harlan helped her to her feet, her green eyes met his, wide with a mix of gratitude and fear. "Why'd you stop?" she whispered, her voice trembling like a leaf in the wind. Harlan, a man of few words, simply tipped his weathered hat. "Couldn't Radley leave you there, could I?" "Nah, Miss Harlan. Let's get you to shelter before nightfall." He hoisted her onto his horse, gentleman, and they rode toward a distant abandoned cabin he knew from his wandering days, the horizon painted in hues of orange and purple as the sun dipped low. The cabin was a relic of better times, its wooden walls creaking under the weight of forgotten stories. Harlan built a fire in the hearth, its flames dancing like hopeful spirits, while Eliza sat on a rickety chair, clutching her arms around herself. The silence between them was thick, broken only by the crackle of wood and the distant howl of a wolf. She watched him as he prepared a simple meal from his saddlebags, beans and hardtack, shared without hesitation. "You don't know me," she said finally, her voice laced with the pain of loss. "I could be anyone. Why risk your neck for a widow like me?" Harlan paused, his spoon midway to his mouth, his blue eyes reflecting the firelight. "Folks out here learn quick that kindness ain't a choice, it's survival. Lost my own family to fever years back. Figure if I can spare someone that ache, it's worth the bullets." As the night deepened, Eliza's thoughts swirled like a storm. She had nothing left, no money, no home, no one to turn to. The bandits had taken her dignity along with her possessions, leaving her feeling exposed, vulnerable. In the flickering light, she studied Harlan's face. Lined with the scars of a hard life, yet softened by an unspoken gentleness. It was no young buck, mid-40s, perhaps, with a beard streaked gray and hands that spoke of tall. But there was a quiet strength in him, the kind that didn't boast. Desperation clawed at her heart. She had heard tales of women in the West trading their bodies for protection, for a meal, for survival. It twisted her insides, but what choice did she have? Standing slowly, her hands trembling, she approached him where he sat mending his gear by the fire. "Bleibst du, wenn ich mich aussehe?" The words tumbled out in German, her mother's tongue from childhood, laced with torment. She caught herself, translating haltingly, "Will you stay, if I undress?" Her voice broke, eyes averted in shame. It wasn't an offer born of desire, but of anguish, a plea from a woman who felt she had nothing else to give. Harlan froze, his needle slipping from his fingers. The question hung in the air like smoke, heavy and unexpected. He looked up, not with lust or judgment, but with a profound sadness that mirrored her own. "Ma'am," he said softly, setting aside his work, "you don't owe me a thing. Not your thanks, not your story, and certainly not that." He stood, keeping a respectful distance, his posture straight but not imposing. Elisa's cheeks burned with humiliation, tears streaming down her face. "I have nothing," she sobbed, collapsing onto the floor. "They took it all, my money, my dreams. I'm just a broken widow, useless in this God-forsaken land." Harlan knelt beside her, not touching, but close enough for his presence to feel like a shield. "Broken? Nah. You rebreatin, ain't ya? That's more than some get." He hesitated, then reached into his vest pocket, pulling out a faded photograph. It showed a woman and a young boy, smiling under a tree. "This here's my Será and little Tommy. Lost, am to the pox 5 years ago. I wandered ever since, thinking I was done for. Battle pin, folks like you? It reminds me there's still good worth fighting for. His voice cracked, revealing a vulnerability he rarely showed. It was an unexpected turn. Eliza had seen him as a stoic savior, but here was a man as wounded as she. In that moment, a profound realization washed over her. His rescue wasn't just physical, it was a bridge between two shattered souls. She wiped her eyes, looking at the photo. They look happy, she whispered. I'm sorry. Harlan nodded, tucking it away. We all carry scars, Elisa. Some visible, some not. But Sarin, That takes real courage. They talked through the night, not of obligations, but of lives lived and lost. She shared stories of her husband, a kind inventor who dreamed big but died young. Harlan spoke of ranching days, of sunrises that promised new beginnings. The conversation wove a tapestry of shared humanity, turning strangers into confidants. As dawn broke, painting the cabin in soft golden light, tension built toward an emotional peak. Elisa, fortified by the night's revelations, stood taller. But doubt lingered. What now? He can't burden you further. Harlan smiled faintly, the first real one she'd seen. Burden? Lady, you're a reminder of why I keep writing. Got a friend in town, runs a boarding house. She needs help, and you'd be perfect. No strings, just a chance. He rummaged in his saddlebag, pulling out a small pouch of gold nuggets, earned from panning rivers in his travels. Take this. It's not much, but it'll get you started. Conceded it alone from one survivor to another. Elisa's eyes widened. I can't, he pressed it into her hand gently. You can. Pay it forward someday. That's how the world mends, one act at a time. The gesture was transformative. In that act of selfless generosity, Harlan didn't just give her money, he restored her faith in kindness, in the power of humanity to uplift rather than exploit. Tears flowed again, but these were of relief, of hope reborn. They rode into town together, the desert blooming with wildflowers after a rare rain, as if nature itself celebrated their bond. At the boarding house, run by a no-nonsense woman named Mabel, Eliza found not just work, but a community. Harlan stayed a few days, helping repair the porch, sharing meals, but true to his word, he asked for nothing. Months later, as Harlan prepared to ride on, Eliza stood at the edge of town, her dress mended, her spirit renewed. You saved me more than once, she said, hugging him fiercely. Not just from bandits, but from despair. He tipped his hat, eyes misty. And you reminded me I'm not alone in this world. Stay strong, Elisa. The West ain't easy, but folks like you make it worth it. As he rode into the sunset, she watched, heart full. In a land of hardship, their encounter proved that true heroism lies not in guns or glory, but in compassion that heals invisible wounds. Years passed, and Eliza built a life, a small school for orphan children, funded by her hard work and that initial gift. She taught them reading, arithmetic, and above all, kindness. Whispers of the cowboy who gave without taking spread like wildfire, inspiring travelers and settlers alike. In saloons and around campfires, his story became legend, a man who chose humanity over self. For Elisa, it was more than legend, it was a beacon. And in quiet moments, she gazed at the stars, whispering thanks to the universe for proving that even in the darkest nights, a single act of selflessness can ignite a lifetime of hope. Harlan, meanwhile, continued his wanderings, but with a lighter heart. He helped a stranded family fix their wagon, shared his fire with a lost miner, and each time, he thought of Eliza. The West was vast and unforgiving, but pockets of goodness flourished wherever he went. One evening, under a canopy of twinkling lights, he pulled out the old photograph, smiling. See that, Sarah? Tommy? We're still making a difference. The wind carried his words, as if affirming that kindness ripples outward, touching souls far beyond the horizon. In the end, their story wasn't about romance or riches, but the profound truth that vulnerability met with compassion can transform lives. It's a reminder to us all, in a world that often demands we armor ourselves, the bravest act is to extend a hand, to give without expectation. Whether in the dusty trails of Arizona or the bustling streets of modern America, humanity's power lies in those quiet moments of generosity. And so, dear reader, carry that spark, be the cowboy in someone's story, and watch the world brighten, one selfless deed at a time.